A Search in Vedic India, Chapter 17, Brahman as World. After dinner that night, Albert shared his understanding with Vimala. He said that he had recognized that it was only awareness that exists at all times and nothing else. This recognition is not just intellectual, but a direct understanding of the same. He explained to Vimala all the points he analyzed. As Swami said, after crossing the big first hurdle, that is, recognizing that his awareness is not just limited to the body, you had many revelations that confirmed the understanding, said Vimala, feeling happy that Albert recognized what needs to be recognized. Though I have confidence in what I recognized, we should meet Swamiji and seek confirmation whether my understanding tallies with the scriptures, said Albert. Then let us go to Swami in the morning, said Vimala. The next day, they visited Swami after breakfast. As explained to Vimala, Albert informed Swami of the understanding he had on worldly objects and his thought analysis. When I had recognized that my eye awareness was awareness not limited to the body, I started feeling that all the objects in the world are within me. Since I am aware of the world only through thought, the analysis of thought should reveal the secrets of the world. When I analyzed the contents of a thought, I recognized that a thought was simply the apparent change in awareness, but there was no change in actuality. I noticed that in every thought, the subject eye awareness and the object are rising simultaneously. All the objects in the world are arising in the thought simultaneously with awareness, and therefore they have no independent existence separate from the awareness. After completing his analysis, he looked at Swami expectantly. Once the initial hurdle was crossed, see how unfolding took place on its own. I am very happy that you have almost completed the second step in the process of recognition of Swarupam. Swami continued, so without any change in awareness, you felt that it appeared as a thought. Is it correct? Asked Swami. Yes, Swami, said Albert. Here there is a great secret. Any thought, is it arising on its own? Or are you making any effort to get it? Asked Swami. Vimala and I discussed this earlier and we understood that they arise and we have no role in their appearance, said Albert looking at Vimala for agreement. Could you imagine any reason for it to happen that way? Asked Swami. Earlier, I was under the impression that it was happening at the instance of God or similar such invisible power. But now it is clear that as every thought is emerging from awareness, the reason for any thought could only be awareness, said Albert. You are very close. We have understood earlier that awareness is an inseparable combination of Sat and Chit. While Chit is awareness, Sat is existence. We also understood that existence is power and it is the dynamic aspect of awareness. When you are aware of a thought because of Chit, the remaining content of thought must be Sat. Because of the intrinsic nature of Sat in awareness, a thought is appearing without any actual change in awareness. Scriptures give a famous example to explain this phenomenon. Suppose you are walking in twilight and saw a snake. You feel a sense of immediate fear, then search for a stick to kill the snake. But when somebody turns the light on, you realize that it is not a snake, but only a rope appearing as a snake in the twilight. Now, you know what the real rope is and what is the snake. The power to appear in different forms without any actual change is also called Maya, explained Swami. Yes, the entire thought with all its contents is snake and awareness is the rope. It is all along only a rope and there is no snake at all. Similarly, all the forms appearing in the world are only awareness. This is because of the inherent power of awareness to appear in different forms. This is exactly what I understood when I said that there was no change in awareness at all, even when the world appeared to me in various thought forms. Infinite awareness, because of its infinite power, appears in different forms and thus appears like the world. There is no actual world other than awareness, said Albert. Now your X is solved. We started taking the world and God as X. Now it is solved that the world is nothing but apparent change only in awareness without any actual change. Since it is infinite existence with awareness, there is no separate God, nor any heaven, nor other worlds, said Swami. Yes, Swami, it is very clear now. I also recognize that Albert, the individual, and the world he sees are nothing but the subject and the object of thought, as in a dream, while the unchanging awareness is present like a cinema screen. All the objects starting from thoughts, body, and all the objects outside the body are just like reflections in a mirror. Worldly transactions are carried out with this understanding, like using a mirror reflection for combing one's hair, said Albert. While my understanding was only intellectual, Albert could recognize directly. Many people think that the world would disappear with such recognition, said Vimala. There would not be any change in the world. For those who recognize the truth, all worldly objects are like reflections in a mirror. They interact with the world with that understanding without getting attached and would be free from the influence of the world. That means they give as much importance as they would give to the objects reflected in a mirror. But those who do not have such recognition may take the worldly objects as real and take pleasure or pain from interacting with them. You must have some more information about the objective world, said Swami. Please enlighten us about it, asked Vimala. The world you see is relative. It would always be changing. It has infinite variety in its various forms, whether animate or inanimate. It cannot be understood fully by human intellect. That is why the scientists go on investigating without any end to their search. So long as the subject scientist and the objective world is separate, the search goes on without end. Any attempt to know the world is like a child trying to catch its head in his shadow with the hand. If he moves one step, the head also moves ahead. When the child's mother puts the hand of the child on its head, then the child is happy that it touched its head in the shadow. Unless you know yourself, you cannot understand the world. There is a statement attributed to Adi Shankara which gives the essence of all scriptures. Brahman alone is true. The world is a myth, and the individual jiva is nothing but Brahman. In Sanskrit, Brahma Satyam, Jagat Mithya, Jivo Brahmaiva na Paraha. Please explain the statement, asked Vimala. We already know that Brahman is infinite existence with consciousness. What the statement says is that Brahman only is true and the world is all an illusion and the individual jiva is nothing but Brahman. The word used in the statement is Satyam for truth. The exact translation of Satyam is not truth in the ordinary sense. Satyam implies that which always exists. The world is neither Satyam nor Asatyam. Satyam is one that always exists. Asatyam is one that never existed, like the horn of a rabbit. When we say the world is an illusion, we mean that something that does not exist but appears to exist. It depends on something else to exist, said Swami. Exists but does not exist? Could you please explain, Swami? Asked Vimala. It is like a blue sky or water in mirage. They appear to be so. Something else that appears differently. All the objects that you see in your dream are nothing but your awareness that appears as different forms. The best example is a rope mistaken as a snake in the twilight. Snake is never there. It is the rope that appears as a snake. Till somebody turns the light on, you feel the fear and all the accompanying emotions of seeing a snake. Only when somebody turns the light on, you recognize it as a rope. It is Brahman that appears as a world with different forms without undergoing any change in itself. It is also called Maya. Another close example is the reflection in a mirror. They exist, but at the same time they are not there, explained Swami. Yes, Albert has explained this to me. For those who recognize the truth, all the objects in the world are mere reflections in a mirror. But those who have not recognized the truth consider all the objects in the world to be real and then entangle themselves in the pleasures and pains emerging from the interactions with the world, said Vimala to the extent she understood. If awareness is taken as a mirror, all the objects in the world are like reflections in the mirror. Do you have any doubt here? Swami asked Vimala. If all the objects in the world are reflections, then what is the image? How can there be a reflection without an image? Asked Vimala. That is a very good doubt. But we have to understand one thing here. For any ordinary mirror, there would be a frame, that is, a boundary. If the image is in front of the mirror, the reflection appears in the mirror. But awareness is an infinite mirror without any boundary. Hence, there cannot be any image outside awareness. But where is the image? It must be within the awareness only. All the objects of the world must be within the awareness, and because of its power, it must be appearing as worldly objects without any actual change like the objects in the dream. That power is the Sat aspect of Brahman, known as Maya. If you ask how all these objects with different forms are in awareness, it is just like the entire banyan tree with all its branches is hidden in the seed, explained Swami. I tried to understand the different kinds of thoughts arising in awareness. It was clear that thoughts with different forms were arising due to inseparable power in awareness. Since thoughts were never separate from awareness and there was no change in awareness, it was clear to me that thought is akin to the snake in your example, while awareness is the rope remaining all along without any change, said Albert. The various forms in the world appear as such due to the Sat aspect of Brahman, that is, the power of Brahman. That I understand. But to say that Brahman only appears as different forms and those forms are not real is not clear to me. Could you explain that? Asked Vimala. This could be explained with examples. When you are witnessing different objects in the dream, your awareness takes on those forms. They are not there when you wake up. So no form is real, and it can be explained this way. See the table in front of you. What is it? Asked Swami. It's a table, said Vimala. Look at it again and tell me, said Swami with a smile. Vimala looked at it for a while and said, Oh, it is wood. If you remove wood from the table, would the table exist? Is the form of the table separate from the wood? Isn't the wood appearing as a table? Whatever is the basis for any form, that only exists and the form is not real. If a bunch of threads is arranged in the form of a shirt, there is no shirt if the threads are removed. Whatever object you are seeing in the world, only your awareness is appearing in the form because of its inherent power. If there is no awareness, there is no world independent of it. There is no shadow if you are not there, explained Swami. You said that awareness, because of its inherent power, appears in different forms as objects. Why should it appear like that in different forms? Why not remain just as awareness? Asked Vimala. That is the inherent nature of Maya or Sat Shakti of Brahman. There cannot be any reason for the inherent nature. Why should fire be hot or water be cold? It is their inherent nature. It is the inherent nature of Maya to appear in an infinite variety of forms, just like a great magician creates an illusion with his power. A great saint gave a beautiful reply when somebody questioned him why Brahman should appear in various forms. The saint replied that Brahman cannot see itself if subject and object are both awareness. That is why it appears in different forms to see itself. Even when forms are seen, they are nothing but awareness and not separate from it, explained Swami. I have a doubt, Swami. If because of the inherent power in awareness, various forms are appearing in both the waking state and the dream state, what is happening in the deep sleep state? Asked Vimala. Surprising thing is that many people are under the impression that the waking state is their original state and the dream and sleep states come and go, said Swami. Is it not true? Asked Vimala. How? If it is truth, then it must be unchanging at all times. All three states are not constant and keep on changing from one state to another, is it not? Asked Swami. If there are changing states, there must be some unchanging basis for those changing states. Otherwise, how is it possible? Asked Vimala. You have stated that correctly. That unchanging base is infinite existence consciousness, that is Brahman. Because of its inherent power, it appears as Vimala and the objects Vimala sees in waking state, and as Vimala and the objects Vimala sees in a dream state, without actually undergoing any change, explained Swami. Then what is happening in a deep sleep state when there are no dreams? Nothing is felt or seen then, asked Vimala. To whom nothing is felt or seen, then it just remains as awareness. Where is another thing to be seen? In waking and dream states, the same awareness appears as Vimala and objects that are being seen by Vimala. In those two states, impressions accumulated as Vimala appear as objects seen by Vimala due to the operation of Maya. In a deep sleep state, those impressions just remain without any projection, with awareness as a blanket covering awareness. The same power that appears as subject and objects in waking and dream states also appear here as a blanket, said Swami. I have not understood that fully. Could you please elaborate? Asked Vimala. Who is Vimala? On your eye awareness, impressions collected through the five senses accumulate and they form the personality of Vimala. For example, if you have learned some skills of karate before you sleep, during the sleep they remain subdued, and when you wake up, you continue where you stopped without the necessity of learning it again. That means the personality of the individual remains with eye awareness. Please note that the individual and his personality is nothing but the operation of power in awareness, explained Swami. Swami, I have a doubt. Is it correct to say that a person who recognizes Swarupam is not subjected to the three states of waking, dream and deep sleep, that is Avasthatrayam? And will he be always in a state of full consciousness? Asked Vimala. This requires more detailed explanation. Listen carefully. The infinite Brahman has infinite power to manifest in apparent forms without actually undergoing any change. This apparent manifestation of power, Maya, is its intrinsic nature. The Sat and Chit are inseparable, and therefore even in apparent manifestation, Chit aspect and Sat aspect are not separate. It is the power of Brahman that causes ignorance, and again its power only removes ignorance. The Chit aspect within the projected manifestation could remain ignorant, although it is actually part of infinite consciousness. That means it is under the ignorance that it is limited to the body and the world is separate from it. But while within the manifestation, due to the operation of the same power, the embodied Chit through inquiry recognizes the truth and that it is in fact infinite and its Chit is not confined to the body only. This recognition takes place while still in the projected manifestation. This is the Jivan Mukta stage. Are you following? Asked Swami. Yes, Swami, but who is a Jivan Mukta? Jivan Mukta is a person who recognizes Swarupam while still in the body. That means a person who recognizes the truth that his awareness is not limited to the body. This recognition does not remove one from the projected manifestation as the body still operates till Videha Mukti. Videha Mukti means dropping the body. This implies that even Jivan Mukta functions within the limitations of projected manifestation. The apparently manifested body functions within the limitations imposed by Maya, that is, Avasthatrayam. But the major difference is that Jivan Mukta recognizes the truth behind Avasthatrayam. He still sees blue sky even after recognizing the truth that it is not blue. He recognizes the truth that in all three states there is Brahman only, and the three states are nothing but the operation of Maya. He lives in the transactional world with this understanding and therefore not affected by either waking, dream, or sleep world. Please note the difference between not affected and not subjected to. He is subjected to all three, but he is not affected. Till Videha Mukti, this goes on. In essence, he lives in the world with the knowledge that his functioning with the body is nothing but the effect of Maya, and there is no individual doer functioning from the body. Thus, the difference between Jivan Mukta and other ignorant people is that while others are under the ignorance that they are doers, the Jivan Mukta is under the firm conviction that there is no doer in him. Consciousness is common for both. Ignorant person functions with the belief that consciousness is within the body, while the realized person functions with the understanding that body is within consciousness. All bodily functions are common to both. The main difference is that Jivan Mukta lives with equanimity, accepting whatever that happens. Pleasures and pains from the world do not affect him, explained Swami. Since there is a change in all the three states, waking, dream, and deep sleep, what is the changeless state? Asked Vimala. That is the infinite state of Sat Chit Ananda, that is infinite existence, consciousness, bliss. From that state, it appears to have changed into these three states without any actual change due to the inherent power, explained Swami. I know of existence and awareness, but what is Ananda or bliss? Asked Vimala. Just like Brahman has an inherent power to appear in forms without actually changing, it has another inherent nature called bliss, said Swami. What is bliss? Asked Vimala. It is not like happiness from the senses, but it is called bliss, as it is a kind of perfect happiness. Suppose you recognize that your real self is infinite existence with consciousness. In that state, one would notice that there is nothing else except awareness. In such a state, there is nothing to be desired or to be known. In such a state, one is always in infinite bliss, said Swami. Is it possible to explain this with an example? Asked Vimala. Normally, when do you feel happy? Suppose you wanted to possess a particular necklace for a long time. Suddenly, your father has gifted it to you. You feel happy when you receive the necklace. But happiness is not in the necklace. At that time, you are just recognizing the happiness inherent to your nature, said Swami. You said that happiness was not in the necklace. Please explain, asked Vimala. Bliss is not the inherent nature of the object you desire. For example, you wanted to eat a particular sweet. You feel happy when you eat it. But happiness is not the inherent nature of that sweet. Otherwise, it should make you happy whenever you eat it. After eating a few of the same sweets, you would get vexed. Happiness is not the inherent nature of that sweet. Otherwise, it should always make you happy. Similarly, If you are happy from any object in the world, that object is helping you to recognize your inherent happiness. Object only reflects your inherent happiness. To explain the ignorance that we derive happiness from objects different from us, here is an example. A dog found a small piece of bone with little meat on it. While trying to eat the meat, the dog came into contact with the sharp edge of the bone, causing its blood to ooze. The dog started sucking its blood, thinking that the blood was coming from the bone. Similarly, people think that they derive happiness from the objects, but it is within oneself. When you recognize that Swarupam is infinite consciousness and there is nothing else other than yourself, you remain a blissful being, explained Swami. When both of them got up to leave for the guest house, Swami called Krishnaya Garu and asked him to bring some CDs kept separately in the library. When he brought them, Swami asked Krishnaya Garu to give them to Albert. They contain lectures on the 10 important Upanishads, Brahma Sutras, Bhagavad Gita, and some other scriptures. Please come again after listening to them fully, he said to Albert. You may come here to get clarification on any doubts while he is busy listening to them, Swami said to Vimala. Vimala and Albert prostrated to Swami and returned to the guest house.